Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Tara's Midnight Madness. Woohoo! And your host for this Notta podcast cast happens to be Tara from Star and Bloom. Okay, everyone. I didn't know if I was going to record one tonight or not because I'm kind of in a funky mood. I'm not really in the chaos, gremlin mood tonight. I guess sad. I'm not even really sure why. It's been kind of like a tough couple of days, really. I guess that's what I can say. Yeah, no fountain in the background today. I unplugged it. It reminded me too much of somebody peeing in the toilet. I guess I haven't lost my sense of humor after all. But it really does, especially when you have a headache. I've had a migraine for a couple of days, but it's kind of under control with some Advil. I don't know, but Advil, extra strength Advil liquid gels, if I take enough, can really curb that migraine. Anyways, so I guess I just want to talk a little bit about, a lot of people always ask me, after hearing about my life story, some of you guys may have read all of it. Some of you guys might have read some of it. But I always get the same question. How is it that you've come out of all of that trauma and are still kind of normal? Hey, I don't think anybody's ever used that word to describe me, but I guess not, dead in a ditch or on crack or something, or a flaming alcoholic, which, sometimes I wonder. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not an alcoholic because my gallbladder won't let me. No, I'm just kidding. It's not a lie. It's semi-truth. I'm not an alcoholic because I know that substance can't cure what ails you. And I'm not in a gutter somewhere after all of the things that I've been through. Because irregardless, I believe that life is precious and that no matter what other people choose to do to you in this life, that they're going to go off more than likely and have a good life after they do all those things. Some do, some don't. A lot do. And then what are you supposed to do about it? Are you supposed to be sad every single day for the rest of your life? Or do you want to live? And I guess in my mind, in my perspective, I've always wanted to live. I fight, okay? Like, I've had to fight every day of my life just to be happy, to try to carve out a little bit of happiness in my life. And I'm determined. I am bound and determined that no matter what trials and tribulations that life happens to throw my way, that I will carve out a piece of that happiness. I think that we can find joy in almost every circumstance. And I always try to, even if I don't do it perfectly, even if I still struggle sometimes with things, I will always try to live a good life and to not be the person that other people have chosen to be to me. And it's because I know how it feels to be lonely. I know how it feels to be alone. I know how it feels to be betrayed, to be harmed, to be almost killed, I know how it feels to feel like you would rather be anywhere but here. I know how it feels to not have someone to talk to when things get really bad. And I want to be the person for someone else that I often didn't have growing up, and even now for myself. Like, I want to be that person for someone else. I think sometimes in life that people would like to blame God for all the bad things that happen. The creator, the universe, whatever you call, whatever you believe, or maybe nothing at all. People want to be angry and blame it all on God. But I have a different theory. I believe, if you've read, God in the Atom, not Adam, Atom, Atom, my article, my essay on that, which was like an accumulation of my life's work, by the way. I'm only laughing because it only took me like over 9 years to gather all that information. I went through like countless journals when I was like really deep into religiosity. And I was studying the Messianic Torah observant version of Christianity, and then all the years I spent in name it and claim it and everything else Christianity. I had tons of like half-written in diaries and journals and notebooks of notes and studying the Greek, studying the Hebrew, and also studying, extra biblical texts. I did a lot of that. And I still enjoy doing that. I'm not going to lie. I love studying, scriptures, Buddhist scriptures, every kind of scripture, including, Bible scriptures and Dead Sea Scrolls and everything else. But way off on a tangent, because that's what I do. Sidetrack. But I mean, I spent a lot of years studying for that, and I don't believe that God is responsible for any of the problems that happen to us. People want to be angry at God for things like free will, but without it, we'd just be the Borg off of Star Trek, plugged into the hive mind. I mean, that's insane to me. I don't know. Most of you probably don't even know what I'm talking about when I say the Borg and hive mind, okay? It's basically these beings, these sentient beings that are just not capable of having a free thought. They're all plugged into the same system, and they're all hooked up, and they all know what each other's thinking, and, they just don't have any other. It's all a hive. It's a hive mentality, and that does not appeal to me. So to worship a God that would give us that kind of existence, no thanks. Nope. Free will sucks, okay? Because there's human beings out there that choose not to do the right thing. But at the same time, free will is a gift. It's a blessing. And I will always see it that way. And I've experienced the worst of what human beings can offer. Very, very rarely the best. And I still feel like free will is the better way to go. Maybe I'm clinging to it because I just am, but I'm not. I'm not just clinging to it. I just know it's the right thing because there's enough people out there, irregardless, that will choose to do the right thing and not the wrong thing. And I believe that we all carry a spark of divinity inside of us, a piece of God. And that when we're sad, he's sad. That he experiences everything that we go through. When we're joyful, he's joyful. When we get hurt, he's been hurt. And I feel that we as human beings are the responsible ones for the suffering that we see on the earth. I mean, there is more than enough resources where people don't have to go hungry. But because there are selfish people in this world, that's why people are going hungry, not because God did it. God gave all of us blueprints, many blueprints on how to live, on how to treat one another. And the whole point of this isn't to get into the God debate. The whole point of it is that we have many examples of how to treat one another, whether you believe in God or not. And we still choose oftentimes to do the wrong thing. So I don't blame God for my problems. I don't blame God for the tribulations I've been through. I don't blame my parents, my mom and my real dad. I don't blame them because they had their own challenges and struggles. It's one thing to hear about the things that I've gone through, but I will never badmouth them. You know, I won't. It wasn't their fault. And it's not my business to share their stories or the things that they've been through. You know, do I feel sad sometimes? Sure. I feel sad over the things that I've had to go through. Yeah, I do feel sad. I'm not feeling sorry for myself. No. Do I feel disappointed with the way things worked out? Yeah. For sure I do. I mean, how could I not? But at the same time, I'm not going to waste my time being disappointed. I'm just going to, work hard and try to build something. And it's never too late to do that. I mean, people might look at me as an epic failure because I'm 44 years old and still haven't, accomplished what other people would deem as success. I mean, if I died tomorrow, I would be okay because I feel like I've done the inner work. I've tried my best to heal and to grow and to help others in my life. Am I a perfect person? No. Am I a saint? No, definitely not. I have a lot of love in my heart and a lot of compassion in my heart. And I do my best, but I'm a human being and I'm subject to making mistakes. So it's not like I'm just wandering out there, with some saintess, title in my own mind thinking I'm so great because, I'm a nice person. Okay, in my opinion, and people get mad at me for whatever reason when I say this, but we are all villains in someone else's story, okay? All of us. We've all done things that we're not proud of. We've all hurt people we love. We've all hurt people, just people. And what that looks like is different for everyone, because we all are human and we all make mistakes. Sometimes we think we're making the best decisions in life and they end up being the worst decisions in life. I think about it a lot. And life is hard. And none of us are getting out of it alive. Okay? If you believe in an afterlife, sure, we get the afterlife. But none of us are getting out of this life alive. None of us are going to live forever. And the reality of it is that, and people get mad at me when I say this, but tomorrow isn't promised. There is no guarantees. I know people that have passed away unexpectedly. They worked hard their whole lives, saved for a future, and never got to enjoy it because they were living for the future, not for the now. Do I think that you should only live for the now and not think of the future? Not really. But I do believe that you should always make space and time and effort to live for the now, because the now is all you have. Tomorrow you might not wake up. Tomorrow the one next to you might not wake up. Anything can happen at any time. So try to make the most of the time that you have with the people you love, because it could be you or it could be them or it could be anything that happens, and you don't want to have regrets. Some of the saddest things that I've ever seen in my life is people that regret not telling their loved ones how much they mean to them while they're still alive. Not trying to repair relationships or reconnect, because we all have this weird sense of, well, we'll do that later, or I'll have more time, or I'm not ready yet. But guess what? That's not a guarantee. Some of us have illnesses. Some of us could get hit by a bus. Some of us are going to hit a deer and die. Somebody might die in so many obscene ways. Who knows? I don't know. Obscene and not obscene ways. The point of the fact is, I'm trying to make it, I've managed to overcome a lot of my trauma because I really believe, well, not overcome it. I wouldn't say ooh, yay, I'm there. Sometimes I word things incorrectly. That's part of the brain damage. It's not me trying to make an excuse. I find it easier to write my thoughts and feelings than I do to talk about them. It's harder now. Sometimes I know what I'm trying to say in my head, but it doesn't always come out right. But when I write it, it usually comes out way better. I get into trouble all the time with that. People just misunderstand me, or I misrepresent what I'm trying to say. And a lot of it is to do with I don't like yelling. I don't like confrontation. I've never been a confrontational person. I don't do well when somebody comes at me a certain way because all my life I had to deal with aggressive people. And when you're not an aggressive person, you learn how to become one. It's called survival. It's not that I ever wanted to be that person. I can defend myself. I can verbally murder somebody with my mouth. Okay? But I always walk away from that feeling physically ill. I don't feel good about myself when I do that. And sometimes if people like raise their voice or yell at me, it can get me triggered and I'll immediately jump into defense myself mode and I can't stop it. That's what happens. And that's why when I get upset, I usually try to warn people, I don't want to talk about this, or I go away. And I find that a lot of people don't have respect. When you say that, they follow you or they continue the conversation because they feel they're entitled. But for me, I already know that if I don't end it, it's not going to end well. I don't respond well to being yelled at. I don't respond well to certain tones. It triggers me, and that's why I have to remove myself. But it is hard to live amongst people because more often than not, they're not respectful about that. And it's hard for them to understand, well, you need to learn self-control. Well, okay, but I also have complex post-traumatic stress disorder, and my cortisol levels are going through the roof, and I don't flight when I'm upset. I fight. It's called self-defense, and I've always had to be like that. And it's not that I wanted to, but one thing I will give my husband credit for sure, is that he knows, he knows. So 90% of the time, he's not going to talk to me in a certain way because he knows. He doesn't always understand it, because in his culture, stuff like that isn't talked about and there's not enough awareness, like conditions like that, post-traumatic stress. It's not, but he understands that, he stays calm for me. And that's really important. And I tend to stay calmer around him because he's able to maintain that. And a lot of people can't. He's the one that's taught me a lot about learning how to be self-controlled. I'm not saying he doesn't trigger me. Sometimes he does it on purpose. When he wants to be flirty, he'll like pick a little fight or something, but he never takes it to heart. And so it's good because it's helpful for someone like me. I don't like confrontation. I don't even like debates. I used to be the queen of debates. And then one day I realized I hate this. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm tired of arguing with other people. And that's why I really go around spreading that message of love. Because I hate arguing over nothing. I'm not trying to force anybody to believe what I believe, or I'm not trying to force anybody to take my opinion. And that's why I don't like talking about it, because sometimes I get triggered by those discussions and I'll start yelling too, but it's really not because I'm trying to convince anybody of anything. I'm not. It's just because it's survival for me. I grew up in World War III, being screamed at all the time and being told I'd never amount to anything. My stepfather was horrible that way. Out of all the abuse that he did to me, I feel like the mental abuse has been the hardest to overcome. Those feelings of not being good enough, that was really rough. Being told that, you weren't going to amount to anything more than a prostitute or a drug addict, like, fuck. And hearing that all the time, it's hard to believe in yourself. My mom, she would tell me, you're smart, you're pretty, but it never could cut through the words, I guess. Like, I could never believe that. And so I struggle with self-worth, self-esteem a lot because, I'm 44 and I'm trying my hardest to make something of myself after, I've always tried, really. I went back to college and I did all those things and not being able to work. has been really tough on me because I'm used to working hard and fighting and, you know, trying to make a better life. And it was really hard on me after I got sick. Basically, my immune system, basically, it just attacks itself. You know, um, it's really rare when it happens, but I was pregnant with one of my children and their blood crossed over and entered into mine, and it had an anti-E antibody or whatever it's called into my system. And for most people, they don't get affected by it at all. But for me, I'm one of those rare cases where it just starts, you know, inflammation problems in the body and skin issues and digestive issues and joint issues and all kinds of crazy shit that you can't, you know, they can't figure out what the hell's going on with you. So I've taken tons and tons of abuse over it. And there's really not a lot they can do. It's not much because there's not a lot of studies on it. And so I have all kinds of issues, like weird issues, like an allergy to the UV rays. I mean, some years is worse than another's, which is weird in itself. I guess it has to do with my immune system and how bad it's triggered. If some years I've needed an EpiPen and I can't go out without UV protective clothing on. And, you know, like, yeah, it's really brutal. Like, I have to be covered head to toe with UV protection. And I had to have my house windows tinted and EpiPens. I've had anaphylactic, you know, like, issues with that. And then also there's some years I can go out in a tank top and I never know what kind of year it's gonna be. But yeah, so I get weird problems like that too, and it's not fun. It's really not fun. I have mobility issues from it. um yeah, it's rough. Sometimes it's rough, but still I believe that every day is a gift. And I didn't really come on here to talk about all the sad shit that I deal with. I came on here to, well, I mean, to talk, but also about the positivity of overcoming the hard stuff. You know, people, one thing I will tell you, and this is something my mom's best advice to me that she ever gave, and I heard it every day growing up. Life isn't fair. And it used to trigger me. I want it to be fair. I think 90% of us want it to be fair, but it's really not going to be fair. And you don't know what hand you're going to be dealt. And you have two choices. You can be really sorry for yourself for your whole entire life, or you can just accept what happened and know that there's nothing you can do about it except for try to move forward and live the best life you can. I mean, I don't want to spend the rest of my life curled up in fetal position crying about the shit other people chose to do. That was their decision. What is mine? I don't think they're going to be crying about it. You know, they won't. They're not going to be crying about all that stuff. So why should I? I'm not saying I don't, but I'm saying for the most part, I don't. For the most part, I don't live in the past. The past won't own me. I want to move forward in my life. And I do fight for my own happiness. Life hasn't been easy for me. Every time I turn around, I have to go through something. And sometimes I get pissed off. I'm like, okay, life, are you done fucking me up the ass right now? I'm kind of done with it. Sorry for the rude graphic. Sometimes I feel frustrated with it. I think every human being on the planet gets tired when they feel like they've had to go through enough. But then you don't stay there. It's okay to be angry for a moment. It's okay to acknowledge those feelings, but it's not okay to just stay in those feelings, right? You actually have to pick yourself up and go forward. Well, I mean, you don't have to, but I just don't give myself any other choice. You know, people ask me how I've survived all of that, and it's because I want to thrive. I want to have a good life, and I will fight for it. I will continue to fight for it. And having a good life doesn't always mean you have everything you want. You know, having a good life is having the things that you need and appreciating what you do have, even when you don't have a lot. I mean, I've gotten by on very little at times in my life. You know, money can't buy happiness. When I was a kid, my family was upper middle class for the most part. We didn't go without food. We had enough clothes. We had toys. We went on trips and vacations. So for all the hell that I went through, we didn't suffer that way. But I have suffered. I've gone without food for great lengths of time. I've had to suffer in those ways. So I've experienced a little bit of everything that life has to offer. And I can still find happiness no matter what happens. And I think that's what we have to do, is to find the gratitude for something good today. And I don't mean you have to gratitude journal. I'm not big on that. But I mean, just remembering and looking at what is going right, not just looking at what is going wrong. Because, sorry, lately I've been catching every bug under the sun, every freaking cold and flu and everything else. So yeah, no, it's like if you want to see the bad in life, it's really easy to find it. If you want to see the bad in someone else, you're gonna find it. It's harder to look for the good in life. It's hard not to get discouraged. But no matter what, you have to look for the good. Because once you start looking for the good, you stop looking for the bad. And the bad things aren't as big of a deal. You know, I always say this in life to my kids. And sometimes like, oh, mom. And it's like, well, I'm like, if, I don't know, I say the same things to them over and over again. With if you want to find the bad, you'll find the bad. And if you want to look for the good, you'll find the good. And if you can't change something, then you have to let it go. You can't just cling to it. You have to accept what it is. And if you can change something and do something about your unhappiness, then do that. And if you can't, try to find your happiness regardless of the situation. Even as a kid, going through the things that I went through, I still found my moments of joy. I always refused to give up on those moments. And when they found me, I appreciated them. You know, I've just never been one to try to, stay stuck in the negative. When I had my really bad post-traumatic stress issue earlier on in the year, in the winter, I guess I should say, I was really kind of done. I had reached a point where I couldn't find the hope at all. Like, I was really wrecked. It was the first time in my life I didn't think I was going to come out of it. I felt beaten, I guess. Like I had my ass handed to me on a silver platter. And I did fall victim to self-pity in a harsh way. So I'm not saying it doesn't ever happen. It does. I mean, I was sobbing. I was just like, oh, God, take me out. I'm done. I can't do this. How much do you have to fight? But you see, I think we can't look at that. We can't just look at it and be like, oh, how much do I have to continue fighting? You have to look at, am I breathing? Then I'm going to stand up again today. Sure, my life isn't very perfect. There's lots of things that I have to struggle with. It's really hard, to have a husband that works away so often for so long. This last time, he had to stay in 4 whole extra days. And it's hard to be apart for that long from someone. It's really lonely. It's really lonely to be married and to see your spouse for 3 days every 2 weeks. That is not easy. And I could be really angry and bitter about that because that's not the life I wanted. I've always loved having a significant other, wanting to have a life, being able to do things together, but he doesn't have a choice. If he doesn't do that job, then we can't live. We can't pay our basic bills because of the inflation in Canada. He used to have a job that would give us a very comfortable life, and now we can just barely pay our bills. And that's brutal. That sucks, dude. And it sucks worse because he has to fight it out on his own, you know? And when I really thought about everything, I realized that sometimes even having fair expectations of people aren't fair. So expectations are just crap. I mean, I think about it, and that's what led me to write that piece about expectations in men, you know, because it sucks for him, and I do feel sorry for him. He has a very physical job, and he is not young. He is older than me. He just turned 52. So it's rough. It is rough. And it's lonely. And it's hard. And it's easy to get discouraged. But I keep pressing forward because I'm trying to build something, and not just about money, but about a legacy. I mean, really, truly, and honestly, I want to leave something behind in this world. Who knows? Maybe all those papers that nobody really was interested in that I wrote, somebody 50 years after I'm dead will be like, oh my God, I found this. This is so cool. Maybe I'll get famous when I'm dead. Who knows? I mean, maybe I think too far, one way for the future. I've always kind of been like that, even as a kid. I remember I was in the grocery store one day as a kid with my mom, and I'm like looking at the peanut butter, and I'm like, Mom, when I get older, I want to invent peanut butter mixed with jam. I'm like, I think that would make money. And my mom's like, oh, Tara, nobody's going to buy that. And no word of a lie, like literally not even 6 months later, that hit the store shelves. I was like, you've got to be fucking kidding. And I told my mom, I'm like, somebody stole my idea. and I was just a kid. I was convinced, man. I was like absolutely convinced. I was so pissed off. And because I was so black and white, I'm like, somebody overheard me. Somebody stole my idea. Who made all that money? But obviously, I mean, it wasn't somebody from the small town of Merritt, BC that made that product and then got rich off of it. I don't know who did it, but it was a pretty good idea. I had it, and I was like, I don't know, 8. I was like, sweet. I was pissed though because I didn't get a chance to get rich off my idea, but I was 6 months ahead. Like I had thought of it. I was like, ooh, before it even came out. So, you know, maybe I'm just ahead of my time or something. I don't know. Life is rough. But, I will continue to try to build, and I will continue to try to leave something. And I do want to keep my Substack on unpaid because, I'd rather sell my books. I would rather sell my merch and keep the things that I believe can help people in some way out there for free. And it's not because I don't value my work. I mean, people think I don't, but I do. It's because I value the people that I hope will find it more. And so I don't ever want to paywall my shit. Not here on Substack anyways. And it's always been really surprising to me because, somebody said to me, well, people only value what they pay for. And they're not wrong. They're not. They're not wrong. But I refuse to live in a world where 1 or 2 people or 3 people, still value something even if it's free. But I didn't practice as a herbalist, even though I'm certified. I think I've told you guys this. I am a certified master herbalist, along with my, advanced healthcare assistant advanced practice certification diploma thingy that I got. I have a couple, whatever. I have that too, but I am certified as a master herbalist with a diploma from the Vancouver Island College of Natural Wellness. But I never practiced as a herbalist, and I'll tell you why. Because number one, I could never in good conscience charge money to help people. And everybody's like, oh, you're so dumb. But it's so expensive in this country to get natural healing. You know, if you can't afford it, then you're not getting it. And it's not affordable. Some healthcare plans cover it now, but not all. And not to mention, most of the practitioners in this country will just try to sell you these shoddy fucking supplements that aren't even vetted, okay? And they might not have the right stuff in them and the right amounts in them because certain things aren't measured properly in this country. So, there's a whole heap of reasons that I don't want to do it. And also because people don't like how I prescribe things. You know, prescribe things, no. How I recommend things that they should take because I don't look for the most exotic, expensive herb. And out of all of that tangent, that's what I'm trying to say. I will literally try to find the least expensive, most effective, and, you know, nicest remedy, but people don't respect that. They're like, oh, it's not that easy. It can't be that easy. Let me tell you something. I put my Crohn's into remission for a really long time now. You're not supposed to be able to last more than 10 years in remission. I've been in remission for a lot longer by using cayenne. Cayenne. Anytime I feel an attack coming on, which is hardly ever, but anytime I do, if I take a cayenne tincture or if I drink a cup of cayenne tea, if I run out of the tincture, let me tell you, it will stop it. Usually the first dose. If it doesn't help after the first one, I give it 10 minutes and then I'll take a second dose. But it will always stop it. It has completely healed my intestinal lining. I do not no longer have even scar tissue. That's how powerful it is. And that's what I'm talking about. I also don't recommend anything I wouldn't use myself. But people always want that, so I get what the person that told me people only respect what they pay for. Okay. I get that. And that's one of the reasons why it's hard for me to practice as a herbalist because I want people to get well and I don't want to overcharge them, but they want the people that will recommend the fanciest, expensivest remedy because they think that's the only thing that can work. And it's like, well, then go see your doctor. I'm sure he'll give you a nice, expensive prescription for some really fandangled pills that will give you lots of bad side effects. And believe me, when my Crohn's was in full bore, I had a diaper bag filled with medication that I was on. Okay, like endless medication. And a lot of it was to curb the side effects from the other medication. I mean, it was a bottle bag. It was a bottle bag that I had repurposed after my kids grew out of bottles into a pill bag. I had to take it with me every fucking where. And I no longer take medicine like that because I found a way to deal with stuff. Part of the reason that I struggle with treating myself is because it's expensive to get the right things to treat yourself. And it's not easy, naturally. And also the things that really work, I can't afford. So, that's the next thing that I hate about it. It shouldn't be expensive to get the treatment you need in this country, in any country. Good treatment, not just here's a pill prescription, have it, and take all the side effects that come with it. I fucking hate that. Don't even get me started. I'm not saying pills are all bad. I'm not a fan, okay? I just am not. And that's just my opinion, and you don't have to agree. I mean, obviously there's things that people, need life-saving medication for, and that's different, okay? But for me, myself, and I, none of their pills ever work, and they only give me major side effects. And it's because I'm allergic to all the fillers in them. There's actually very few prescription medications I can take. Part of what led to my PTSD breakdown was because I had no choice but to go on to these corticosteroids for an issue I was having. I had no other choice. I had to take them, and it triggered it. And they didn't tell me there was a possibility it could. They didn't ask me if I had a history of PTSD. They had done none of that. And yet, when I looked it up in my medical textbook that I own, it is very possible for that to happen. And it does happen if you have post-traumatic stress syndrome. And literally that's what happened to me. It triggered me and spiraled me, and, it tapped into the repressed memory section of my brain, and it wasn't pretty. It was pretty nasty. And it was all onset by the pills. That's what happened. It was nuts. I was like, oh my God, because I felt like I was going crazy. That's what led me to look it up. I'm like, oh my God, what is this? And, it can really mess you up. So there's me for my little rant on taking the nightmare pills the doctors prescribe. Sorry. It's all a money-making thing. And even the herbalism industry now is owned by Big Pharma. They realized, oh, we can make money off of this. So now they want to charge you an arm and a leg for it. It's bullshit. That's why I don't get involved anymore. I wanted to be a herbalist to help people because I know that natural healing can really change your life. I know that. Also, stress kills people, okay? I used to be a really big stress bucket. I would take on so much shit. Having so many kids, okay? I'm like the wrong personality to have kids. I'm a worrier, okay? And once they became adults, that was like the biggest nightmare for me ever. I'm telling you guys. Raising teenagers and toddlers is nothing compared to how it feels when you leave when your kids leave home and they're adults and you literally have to watch them fuck their lives up. It's brutal, man, and there's nothing you can do, and it used to stress me out a lot. And I internalize a lot of that because I know you can't sit there and shit all over your kids. So I didn't know where to put it all. I was like getting, I don't know, stressed out from the inside out. It's rough. I care about the people I love a lot. It's hard not to worry. It's hard not to worry for them, especially when they do some stupid ass shit. And believe me, they do. At times. I mean, I'm not saying I didn't, but I also had reasons. Okay, never mind. I guess everybody has the reasons. There's no comparison. I'm just annoyed. It's really difficult to be a parent. Some parents have really well-behaved children. Some parents have kids that are just good listeners. And see, the thing is that you can be the best parent in the world, read every parenting book, go to every parenting class, which I did, and your kids still struggle. I mean, it's rough to watch that shit, man. And then 2 of my biological children have autism. And that is a whole different parenting ballgame, guys. Literally. I mean, it's not easy, even with high-functioning autistic kids. Kids that can communicate with you. Sometimes what they communicate isn't very nice. It's rough. And you don't get that sense of love back from your child. And it teaches you to learn how to love very unconditionally. It's tough because to them, it's just difficult when you're dealing with meltdowns and, spiraling and things like that. They can get mean. It's not an easy thing to do. So for all you autism mommies out there, I see you. I don't tend to talk a lot about my kids because, number one, I'm not going to violate their personal privacy. And number 2, because kids take up so much part of my everyday life. I don't really have a lot to say in my work life, I guess, as I call it, my work life, my other Substack life, So I love all my kids. I'm very blessed. I'm a mama of a lot of kids, and it gets crazy sometimes. I love them all, but they all drive me crazy. No, just kidding. Kids will drive you crazy. It's hard. It's tough. Being a parent is a thankless job, and it's rough at times, but it's also one of the most rewarding jobs, and I'm very lucky. I'm very lucky and blessed. It's just that it's hard, like I said, when you watch your kids struggle. It's hard when you watch them go through really difficult life things, and you can't do anything about it. You can't change it. You just have to accept it and try to live as good of life as you can. And you can be there and offer advice if they ask, but you can't go and offer unsolicited advice when they're growing. You have to respect your kids. And I always try to do that. I also don't go hunting after my kids very often. They're adults. If they want to contact me, they will. I'm not going to call their phone and start harassing them all the time. I don't think that's right. You can't do that. You can't place that kind of pressure on your kids. I sort of wait for them to come to me, unless it's been a super long period of time. And then I'm like, guys, I'm still alive. Okay. Mm-hmm. But it just depends on the kid. It depends on the relationships. It depends on a lot of stuff. Not always easy. I love them all, and they're wonderful and unique and great personalities. But I don't have the personality to be 100% of a great best parent either, because I'm a terrible disciplinarian. I don't like to punish children. And it's not that I don't, but I don't like it. And by punish, I just mean give them consequences. I don't like that. I'm not a good consequency person. I would always rather talk it out with my kids and try to get them to understand. And so I ended up being more of a lecturer of a parent. And I don't know, yeah, they don't like it. None of them like lectures. That's why I started this podcast, so I can lecture everybody else. No, just kidding. I don't call them lectures, okay? They're discussions, like mom and children discussions, but they're always like, "Oh, stop lecturing me. Stop lecturing me, Mom. I know everything." No, just kidding. They do think they know everything in their 20s, dude. I can't wait for them to get into their 40s and realize how right I really was. No, just kidding. Oh, it's all good. I love the hindsight. Even now, sometimes they'll come back to me and be like, "Oh, I should have listened to you, Mom." But the next thing rolls around, "You don't know what you're talking about." I'm like, "Okay, I don't know what I'm talking about. We'll see about that." I'm still waiting for it to come back around on a couple of things. Oh my God. I mean, even when I look back, I just still can't believe I'm 44. I mean, that's insane. I don't feel like I'm 44. I mean, I do in some ways, but not in others. Maybe not mentally. I'm like, no, I remember when I was 20 thinking 40 was old. What the fuck? Now I'm 44. No, no, thank you. Can I rewind, please? I feel like I haven't got to live any life yet. I always told myself that I would do all the right things when I was young. And then when I got to my 40s, that I would have all the time in the world to live out my own dreams. And it's so ironic now that here I am in my 40s and I didn't do anything because I thought I would do it later and now I can't. It's like, fuck. It's so annoying. But at the end of the day, it was still worth it. I'd do it again. It's just, you shouldn't put off for tomorrow what you can do today because you really don't know what life is going to throw at you, And I think that we all make that mistake. We think we'll have time later on and there might not be. And that was what I was trying to say earlier. You just never know. And, what can you do at that point? It's too late, guys. Don't be dumb. If there's something you can do right now, and you just aren't doing it, then do it. A lot of people in the elderly folk care homes and also in hospice, their biggest regret isn't the mistakes that they made. It's the things they didn't do. And I can honestly say that, so don't leave off some of the things that you want to do for tomorrow. Do them today. And I dude, even in my situation, I'm still doing the same thing now. I'm not putting off any more things. If I can do something I want to do, I try to do it because I think it's important. You can't just wait for tomorrow because, like I said, tomorrow might not be there and then everybody will be sorry. We all live in this thing and we make these plans, but sometimes our plans come to no fruition. Fruition, whatever. fruit. I always like the word fruitation. I know it's fruition, but I like fruitation because if it doesn't come to fruitation, then what? It was all for nothing. It's how stupid. It's good to be hardworking. It's not good to put your work ahead of your like living in the now too. So you have to find that balance in life with anything. I don't think that any extreme side is the best side. You know, talking to my Buddhist friends, they always say that Buddha advised always taking the middle, and I think that's probably like some of the better, as much as possible. Because when you take an extreme side on anything, you're going to end up in hot water, man. I've been on extremist ends all my life, and it's not a good thing to do. I've really mellowed with that because like, yeah, no, it's really not a good thing to do. Being an extremist is not. It's terrible. But anyways, I'm like going way over on this stupid thing. I don't know how enjoyable this is going to be for everyone. I mean, it's not funny. But I mean, it's just me being me. And that's the whole point of Midnight Madness. You never know what you're going to get. Are you going to get crazy chaos gremlin version of Tara? Or are you going to get the, serious, whatever version? Or are you going to get the sad one? And I have to admit, yeah, I was a little bit on the sadder end of the spectrum tonight. We all get sad sometimes, and I think it's good because then you get a real glimpse of who I am as a real person. I am a very real person. I'm very honest. I'm not ashamed to admit that I don't have good days every day. I haven't been having some good days. I've been having some shit days, and that's the way it is. But there's nothing you can do about that. You just have to do your best. And that's why I try to laugh as much as possible. Because if you don't laugh, people, you're going to cry, okay? Life is a bitch, and then you die. I've said that saying for so long in my life. Life's a bitch, and then you die. But if you don't make your happiness, like if you don't learn to laugh about some of this stuff, you are literally going to lose your mind. And I don't want to lose my mind. I'd rather be, try to find the silliness and the joy and the like whatever, the laughter while you can, because guess what? Laughter is the best medicine. And that is the truth and reality. So I just wanted to get on here and share a little realness with all of you and also answer some questions, because a lot of people do ask me, how did you survive all that shit? Has it been easy? Hell no. What kind of easy is that going to happen? It's definitely not going to be easy, guys. Definitely not. I mean, going through all that stuff isn't easy, but if you just keep your eye on the fact, I mean, do you really want to sit there and be sad for the rest of your life over shit you can't, change? It happened. What are you going to do about it? Or do you want to try to live and not just live? Some people go through life just living. I don't enjoy that. That doesn't appeal to me. I don't want to just be alive and then just be sad or be angry or be bitter, And the other thing is that, okay, I mean, sometimes trauma prevents you from loving others, from keeping your heart locked up in a box. But then really, what's the point of living? Part of the loving people is a risk. And you know what? Even you yourself are going to let down the people you care about. And you're going to let down yourself. But is it worth keeping your heart locked up in a box to the point where you're not going to do anything, love people because of it? No. We are social creatures. We do need to show love to one another. And I think this whole world could do a lot better in how it does that. All this racism and polarization and hatred over ethnicity and all this shit that's happening. And it's not one-sided. And people might be like, oh, shut up, white person, go sit down. My skin color has nothing to do with it. Okay? I'm not stupid. Everybody's hating on everybody right now. It's bullshit. And then it's not just that. I mean, it's like everybody's fighting. Everybody. Straight against gays. Gays against straight. I mean, different political parties. We're in Canada, so it's conservatives and liberals are all fighting, and the Americans, it's the Republicans and the blue one. I don't know, but they're all fighting. It's stupid. It's stupid. Everybody's fighting with everybody. It's stupid. At the end of the day, we're all human beings. Come on, guys. There was a time in our history where people had different views on something and they might get into a debate and they might say some hurtful shit, but now it's getting to the point where it's tearing families apart. It's getting to the point where people are literally saying they want to kill other people over it. It's retarded. Or I'm not talking to that person. Like, come on, you guys. Like, let's do better. Like, let's be better. There's a million more worse things out there in life than hating each other because of an opinion. I mean, God. Like, fuck. I don't know, but there's just some hills that aren't worth it. Okay? Like, the less that we hate on each other, the better. Can we really live in a world full of hate all the time? Like, it's so full of hate. It's like a bunch of big haters in a bowl. Hating. Haters were gonna hate. Fucking stupid song is going through my head now. I'm not even, no, go away. It's like that song Lamb Chop song. The song that doesn't end. Oh my God. I've got some funny stories about that, but I'm not going there. This podcast not a podcast needs to end. I can't even say it right. I'm so tired. And whatever. Blah. I don't know. But yeah, I still thought I'd come on and do it anyways, because it is what it is. Like I said, it's a very real another side. You guys are getting the serious mode. The cry. I think he even cried. I did. I shed a couple tears because I was feeling emotional. Whatever. You guys hear it all. I mean, literally, you guys get everything. One day I might just be too embarrassed to show my face out in public ever again. No, I'm just kidding. No, you get in your 40s and you really don't give a shit anymore. You're like, whatever. It's not the same as when you're 20 and 30. I mean, I spent so much of my life caring way too much what other people thought. And I still care because you have to care to a point, but I don't care to that level, crippling level point. People have a lot of opinions in life. They have a lot of opinions about how you look, how you dress, how you speak, what you say, what you carry yourself about, what religion you follow. I mean, when I tell people I don't even follow a religion, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual. They're like, you have a religion. You have to have a religion or you need to be an agnostic. I'm like, no, I don't. I don't need to do anything. I need to know what I know and I don't need to convince anybody of what I know. That's just stupid. I want to respect everybody for what they believe, and I want people to respect me too. And I find that the minute you start talking to people about certain things, they don't respect you. And that's really annoying. That's why I don't talk about it. Because I don't, like I said, I don't like arguing. I really find it repugnant. It's really nasty to me. I don't enjoy it. I used to enjoy a good debate. I don't anymore. Not at this point. Maybe one day in the future, if I can ever heal my not PTSD. If I can ever heal, my endocrine system and shit like that, maybe. Anyways, all you people, I hope you all have a wonderful night and a wonderful day and a wonderful week coming up. And who knows when you'll hear from me again. Whenever I feel like it. That's why it's not a podcast. All right. Love y'all. Bye.